All right, good morning, everyone. We are going to switch things around a little bit this morning. We're going to start with the TCFC agenda. So, can we call the meeting to order and do a roll call, please?
Yes, Chair Sherwood
Present.
Vice Chair Jimmy Favors,
Present.
Commissioner Wilma Roberts,
President and Director.
President and Director, Mr. Patrick.
No, I mean their President and Vice
President.
President.
Okay.
So we have,
Mr. Matt Green, from the.
Not yet.
okay, so we,
Not until we get to the item.
Oh,
Sorry.
so we have a quorum.
You have a quorum, yes. Sorry.
All right, great. And item number 2 on the agenda is the public forum. Do we have anyone desiring to speak or comment on items related to TCFC?
No, ma'am, we don't.
Okay. Can we have approval on the meeting minutes from the March 7th, 2024 regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
All right, so the agenda is approved. Moving on to item number 4 on the agenda, action items. First on the agenda is resolution number TCFC 2024-05, and this is to approve inducing the Winding Trails Apartment, a new 396-unit multifamily residential complex in collaboration with an affiliate of Z Modular, located at approximately the intersection of SH 130 and FM 973 and SH 130, and authorizing the negotiation and execution of a term sheet. The other matters in connection therewithin.
Yes, ma'am. So, first of all, I want to check to see if the developer is on the line. It may not be. No, not for that. Okay. We're going to allow Mr. Plummer to provide just a brief overview. The project is a 396-unit development. It does utilize the PFC structure. So if you go to the next slide, it should show you the breakdown of the. Well, this is just a picture of the some of the proposed amenities. Next slide. Okay, that's it. Okay. So we're going to just allow Mr. Plummer to provide an overview. We've been in discussions up to last night about some of the details of the terms, but I'm going to allow Mr. Plummer to go ahead and share a little bit about that process.
Sorry, guys, trying to get off mute. This is a project that is a modular construction project. Z Modular is a subsidiary of a company called Zuckerman Industries, and they have been building modular apartment projects for quite a few years. I know at least 7. They are a steel company, and they build a steel frame modular unit. They're attempting to perfect modular construction in apartment projects. They have several apartments around the state. The one I'm familiar with is down in San Marcos and has been open and operating for a considerable period of time. And they have a manufacturing facility, I believe, in Killeen. And I want you to be aware of that. I think actually they do a really good job, and they build a really strong structural building. Their budget's $140 million, and everything else you're going to see today is going to have budgets significantly lower than that. Our normal project cost is about $250 a unit. This one will be $350 a unit. Um, Z Modular will put in all the money for the equity in this deal. We've had a lot of negotiations. They have agreed to everything, and I will be straightforward and tell you that I have forced them to adhere to your standards, and have not considered their request to have reduced payments to you, in part because this is the modular, and in part because they have their equity. So this project right now is returning a 7% return to their equity, which is not a market rate return. But they are in a position where proof of concept is far more valuable to them than the cash flow associated with the project. They have agreed to all of our terms except for the rent. Our normal formulation of rent is total project budget times 80% times 25% of the tax savings. They have come back to us and they have said, look, our project is more expensive than any other project you're doing. Our yields are much lower. We would like to negotiate a rent that is much more in tune with what an average 396 unit project would pay. And we'd like to cut out the other costs associated with our project, which are truly development costs for the surrounding properties. And I am okay with doing that. I think we will come up with a rent that will be satisfactory, and it will be lower than our standard formula, but it will be appropriate for a 396 unit project if you'll allow us to do that. The project is part of an overall development plan for I think they have 70 acres. And they will do other apartments, they will do retail, they will do multifamily on site. And this is just the first project on that site that they are developing. And it is out at SH 130 and 973. In fact, I think most of the projects we're seeing are out on SH 130, and the projects that we've approved and the county's approved. I do believe they've talked to the county commissioner. I do believe that they have the support of the county commissioner. They are, of course, giving us our 20% at 60% and 80%. I'm sorry, I said that wrong. 30% at 80%, our standard affordable terms.
Okay, is there any discussion? Any questions from anyone?
No.
No? Is there a motion to approve resolution number TCFC 2024-05?
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
This one was approved. And I just have one comment on the description. Is it an era where we have the double SH 130s?
Yes.
That's good, yeah, it's,
Okay,
yeah,
so we just need to make that correction.
yeah.
All right, moving on to item B. It's resolution number TCFC 2024-06, and it's to approve inducing the Greg Lane Apartments, a new 350-unit multifamily residential complex in collaboration with an affiliate of Stonehawk Capital Partners LLC located at approximately the intersection of Greg Lane and Harris Branch Road.
Yes, thank you. And the developer is here to provide some comments, so we will pull up item that they asked us to display. And Matt, if you would like to, Kevin, where do you want them to sit?
Just come right up here.
Okay, where the mic. No, there's a mic. We have plenty of mics. Just, sorry, right, you can just sit right there, sorry. You gotta show them where to sit. Okay. Sorry, why is there not a chair over the front?
Yeah, it should be one right.
Yeah,
Can we
that's
just
why.
get a chair right here?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Matt, just. you
We're
can
gonna
go
move
to
the mic up front,
I
I'm sorry.
apologize.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, right up
I'm
front
good
where
to
he just
go
moved.
wherever.
Yeah, he's gonna move it right there, sorry. I couldn't see from up here.
So my name's Matt Swedenberg. I work for Stonehawk Capital Partners. We're a multifamily developer out of Dallas, Texas. We started back in 2013 with the goal to build Class A multifamily only in Texas. I'd say our deals are unique in that we like to provide all of our residents with kind of a live, work, and play type of atmosphere. And so we do that with our amenities, with our finish outs, such as, our gym. We don't like for our residents to have to go get a gym membership, so we go state-of-the-art gym. Our pool courtyards, our golf simulator, we put golf simulators, and that includes, a bunch of games with it. Our pool courtyard, we put a lot of time into those pools. They're very expensive, and we like to have a very unique experience for the residents there. We like for them to bring their friends. We like for them to be able to spend time there. In addition to that, our finish outs and kind of floor plans. We do, so this one particular deal is a 3-story walk-up. It's going to have 1, 2, and 3 bed units. In specific, I'd like to kind of shift over. We have a property. It's actually just about to start leasing. It is down the street, probably 2 minutes from where this deal will be. I think we do have some renderings on that. Well, I kind of got ahead of myself on the presentation, but I'll go through this. So we actually have done now 4 PFC and or HFC deals in Texas. A couple with Fort Worth Housing Solutions in Fort Worth, 1 in Denton with Denton Housing Authority, and then 1 in Garland with the Garland Finance Corporation. So we have extensive experience. We understand kind of how it works, the leasing, how we're marketing, and kind of all the ins and outs of kind of how these projects go about. And we've had success with them, and really think we've brought a very positive benefit to the community through them. And I won't go through each specific one, but if you want to move forward a few slides. We've got 2 in Fort Worth, 1 in Denton, 1 in Garland. And then, so this is the deal that I referenced earlier. It's called the Howard. It's on Howard Lane, about 5 minutes west of where this Greg Lane deal is. It's a 360 unit deal with very similar type of finish out, very similar type of site plan. I know we have a few renderings pulled up on the next slide. And so as you can see, put a lot of detail into our build out, the pool courtyard. We have cabanas, we have putting greens, we have hammock areas, we have grilling stations, outdoor kitchen. In terms of unit finish outs, we typically have 2 types of floor plans in terms of like colors. It's market rate, Class A, finish outs, even for, all of our deals, whether they're market or a PFC, HFC deal, they're all the same finish outs. We don't, make any difference between the 2 in terms of that. And so in terms of the rest, if you keep going a little bit, next one. So for this specific the next slide, please.
Go back to that slide where the overview of the street area.
Yeah.
You're right there. Can you blow that up a little bit? Can you?
So for this particular project, it's definitely suburban. It's out kind of close to 130, right off Howard Lane on Greg Lane and Harris Branch. Closest grocery stores, there's a couple HEBs within a few miles in terms of bus stops. it's not the most ideal. It's, you know, a couple miles away. In our experience, a lot of our deals that we've done in the kind of affordable or mixed income housing space have been these types of suburban deals that haven't been like in the city center where you have, you know, bus access or public transit access within, you know, a 2 or 3 minute walk. A lot of our projects are out in this kind of suburban area where we do, you know, see a lot of those residents still driving vehicles. So we haven't had any complaints or issues with that. I know it's not the most ideal, but I think it's something that we've, you know, still been able to, you know, get past.
How's that road, that road that it's on, has that been upgraded? Maybe the section I'm looking at, maybe a different section of it.
So I can point real quick. So Howard Lane is the main road that comes down here. Greg Lane comes right off Howard Lane. And so we actually have already gone through the majority of our TIA process through Travis County. And so there are some minimal upgrades that we'll need to make to the road. I don't quite know the exact upgrades that they're, you know, contemplating, but there are. Yeah, there are. The road, Greg Lane as a road it's 2 lanes. Howard Lane is a little more built out, but Greg Lane itself, whether, you know, we kind of look at it as a developer too, and it's, you know, we have residents pulling in and out of this road every single day. You know, we could go do some improvements to it if we need to. Right now, the TIA is requiring us to do a couple small things. I can follow up on those specific items, but yeah.
It just, that's the only concern that if the county is investing that kind of money, maybe the county spend some money upgrading that road. So.
And then in terms of our fees, I don't know, Jim, if you want to jump in and discuss through some of our conversation, but so our structuring fee, we've upped that from the standard $250 up to $750. There's a couple reasons there. One being on the development fee share, because as a developer we are providing the guarantor on the loan, which means if anything happens to the deal, if there's project overruns, if there's any type of budgetary issues, we are responsible for it. And so splitting the development fee it doesn't work for us, because we have to be able to pull from that development fee in order to cover cost overruns or anything like that. So we have our contingency bucket, but typically on projects like this, you burn through your contingency and you end up pretty much spending the whole budget by the end of the project. But in order for us to get comfortable with this, we went ahead and upped the structuring fee by $500,000 up to $750,000. In terms of the sales tax savings fee, that one was standard. I think it was, Jim, you might have to help me out off the top of my head.
Yeah, it's 25% of sales tax
1,500 a unit.
savings.
Yeah. And then the ground lease payment was the standard payment of, I believe it's 80% of the taxable amount, and 15% of that, off the top of my head. And then in terms of the back-end sales split, I know there was some discussion between Jim and I over where the preferred return would end for the investor, whether it would be, you know, I think our initial ask was 13.5%, and we've come down to 12%, and that was another reason why we upped the structuring fee. In order for our investors to get comfortable with this is, I would say, a term that they hadn't seen quite to this extent in the past. We've seen deals where we've had to start sharing after a 15% or something like that, but not to the extent down to where we are now. But we were able, as Jim said, I think our return on this deal to investors is just below 7, which is kind of the thinnest margin right now, at least. Most investors that we're working with, they're looking for really over a 7, but at least 6.25, and we're kind of right at that 6.25 number. And so, we want to work with you guys and make sure that we're, providing the right benefit. And the other side of it is that we have investors that they have certain returns that they need to meet, and based on what returns they need to meet, this is kind of like the maximum that we can go. And we've initially it was that 13.5 number, and we've been successful in negotiating them down to a 12. And so we're kind of at our maximum amount on that. And that's kind of why there was some adjustment in some of the terms, and we upped the structuring fee on the upfront side as well. So happy to answer any questions. I know I went through a decent amount, but yeah, happy to answer any questions that y'all have.
Yeah, let me jump in there for just a second. The structuring fee offsets the developer fee and comes up to our standard. The sales tax savings fee is our standard. The ground lease payment is our standard. The one item that varies in this deal and the next 2 deals is that we have a provision that says when you sell the project, the first time you sell the project, you get to pay back your debt, you get to pay back your equity, and our standard provision says that after an 8% return to your equity, we get 15% of what's left over. So this is an item that would occur most likely 3 to 5 years from now, could be 7, could be 10. And the 8% number was set in the times when we had very low interest rates. We have done a 10% pref to get projects done. We have not done a 12. We had them run the numbers, and in essence, this split would be, instead of $1.2 million, would probably be $2.3 million at 8%. And their investor came back and said, no, that doesn't let us hit the metrics that we need to invest. We have negotiated very heavily in this transaction. I do believe that looking at their numbers, in order to get the equity that they do need us to agree to a 12% preferred return. And I don't believe they can do this deal at a lower number. And so, as a practical matter, I think that the market that we are in is demanding higher returns to get the equity. And so, for us to continue doing deals, I think we are going to see this for a while. I think we keep pushing. I think we continue to collect our 8% wherever we can. And Patrick and I go through the numbers and get comfortable that we're getting as much as we can get and still get a deal done. Part of the reason that we're pushing to continue to get deals done is because you have such a need. And if we stop doing deals for the next year, 3 years from now, we're going to have a really a worse affordability problem out in the county. And so, I think our recommendation is to consider the 12%, given where the market is today, and given the fact that we have negotiated very hard and believe that they have to get the 12% or they can't do this deal. And you're going to have the same issue on the next two deals. If you need to go into executive session, I'd suggest you table this for a moment, hear the developer on the next two deals, and then we go in executive session and discuss all three deals at one time.
Okay. Any discussion?
Yeah, well, I'd just like to know, Jim, what is the projected loss of revenue to HATC on this particular deal because of the restructuring?
It would be about $1 million to $1.1 million, and it would occur somewhere between year 3 and 10.
So
Can I-
from 3 to 10.
Yeah.
I would also say it depends on the length of hold of the deal too. The longer you hold it, the less it should be. But yeah, I would say at a 5-year hold.
So if
that
you
is
sell it
correct.
3 years, a bigger loss to us.
Yes.
Right.
And I would say on our deal, it is in the opportunity zone as well. And so those are typically 10-year holds,
Okay.
for what it's worth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I would like to listen to, before making a decision, listen to the other deals.
Sure.
Thank you.
Motion
Yeah.
to table this, now.
Okay,
Second.
Thanks.
thanks.
Sure.
All right, let's go on to item C. And this is resolution number TCFC 2024-07. This is to approve inducing the Barclay Meadows Homes in partnership with an affiliate of Barclay Meadows LLC to be located at approximately 4402 East Highway 71, and authorizing the negotiation and execution of a term sheet and other matters in connection therewith.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Are you clicking that on your laptop? Okay. I think we're gonna have to put it on the overhead. My name's Matt Green. I'm with a group called Core Real Estate Partners. We're developers, and I've been in Austin for about 25 years. Our site is located on the southeast corner of 71 and Toll Road 130. So it's right next to a county park called Barclay Meadows County Park. So we share a property line with that park, and we're about 3 miles south of Tesla. It's about 8-9 minute drive, and we're about 3 miles north of the Circuit of the Americas Formula One deal. We're about 1.5 miles east of the airport, so kind of that little hub. Our project is a big project, so I think we're the next 2 agenda items. I'm just going to present them together because we have 2 different product types on there, so we're asking for 2 PFCs, deal structures that are identical. One for the front half of the site, which is on the right side, which is for rent apartments, and then one for the bottom half of the site, which is single-family rental homes. So we've got 2 different product types, totaling 576 units, so it's a big project. There's 408 garden apartments and 168 single-family homes. We have pretty large average unit sizes. They're designed to be operated independently, so they each have their own clubhouses, their own pools, their own gyms, their own leasing centers, and then we have an interconnected trail system that runs throughout our 44 acres and then ties into the Travis County Park that has the lake on it, and Onion Creek and that trailhead that kind of is all interconnected, which is nice. I think based on our location, we're in kind of Del Valley, so we're right outside the city limits in the ETJ. Del Valley is exploding a lot because of Tesla, obviously, but there's other companies around there in the Elon world that are all within different sides of us. Kind of other things going on in the area. Directly across the street from us, Seton Hospital is planning a East Campus, or an East hospital system, which will create a lot of jobs. Austin Community College is located right on the other side of the Velocity Crossing project that's been in the news a lot lately. They're on the southwest corner. The new ACC campus is going to be hosting the Austin Infrastructure Academy, which is projected to have 10,000 students a year for infrastructure, construction, trade jobs in and through Austin. The Texas A&M just announced last week, actually, the new Emergency Operations Center, which is on the same corner as us. So we're on the north side of 71, and they would be on the east side of 130, and that's like a 400,000 square foot headquarters for emergency disaster preparedness. And then we've got the airport and Met Center and all these other kind of things around us. So we think there's a high demand for affordable housing out here. I know Del Valley is working on a new 5A high school. They need housing for teachers, they need housing for students, their enrollment's up. And so we've been working on this project for quite a while. It's in a shovel-ready condition. So we have got all of our utility agreements done. One of the tough things about this whole east side of town is that there are no utilities, and so it's hard to find sites where you can build something. And so we have agreements with Austin Water to bring in water and wastewater to the site. We're oversizing the lines. It's creating a distribution network for other areas around us. And it also creates a redundant service loop for the Del Valley School District, which is all just right next to us on Ross Road. We've got signed off by fire. We've got our vertical building improvements for the apartments, and we are going through the kind of final stages of capitalization to raise the rest of the money to build this job. And so I think in general, like, we can click through some of these slides. This one is out of date. This is based on an initial term sheet that Jim changed and Patrick changed, and so we were pretty much on board with all the standard terms. We are deviating like the last project with the preferred return. The need for that is because the cost of capital for these institutional equity investors has just gone up with the market, and so that's what we're asking. And you know, I think just the way that Austin goes with this boom and bust cycle, there's no new apartments being built right now. Market rate stuff just doesn't pencil. You can't get the returns for the cost of development. The PFC allows us to make the numbers work, and in order to get the institutional equity, we need to increase the preferred return so they're recouping their investment back. I think that's generally it. Jim, I don't know if you want to weigh in on any of the other things, but I'm also happy to answer questions. The rest are just pretty pictures, but you can kind of click through all those.
All right. Jim, do you have anything you want to add at this time?
No, I mean, I think it's the same situation as the Greg Lane transaction. This one happens to just be unique because it has single family for rent. The single family for rent will be operated just like an apartment project, but it gives families the opportunities to have garages, backyards, and live in a single family home as opposed to an apartment. And so it's a bit different project, but it's nice to be able to have the single family portion of this as a for rent project.
Okay.
Yeah, I will add too that even our standard apartments are larger than average. We're about 850 square feet, which is a little bit bigger than you typically see.
Okay.
Okay. And is this a similar deviation as the prior project?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's really just a preferred return.
Okay. So I would like to request a motion to table these two for executive session.
Well, if that's all we have.
Well, we have
we
them.
can-
We have two others.
Two
okay,
other.
Okay.
All right, so
yeah,
is there a
I'll offer
motion?
motion to table.
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much.
Thanks.
All right, we're gonna move on to item E. Let me just, for the record, just say we are tabling items C and items D. That's what we just approved, and so we're gonna move on to item E, which is resolution TCFC 2024-09. and this is to approve the selection of an entity to perform real estate underwriting services.
Yes, and Jim will explain, but just for the record, we put out a solicitation to solicit a suitable firm to do underwriting services as required by the state statute. We went through that process and have selected, are recommending CBRE. We have a fact sheet, I believe, that shares a little bit about the organization. They actually have been doing that work for us as of recent, so you are familiar with what their work product. We feel like they are met all of our expectations and can deliver as we expect them to. So, Jim, I don't know if you want to share anything else about your long-standing experience with CBRE, but that's the recommendation.
So I am familiar with the companies that provide these services. I like CBRE's report. I think it's very thorough. It analyzes the proposed rents and tells us whether or not those rents are acceptable in the submarket that the project is in. It analyzes the construction costs. It analyzes the expense matrix. It then goes through and develops a community benefit analysis where they compare the taxes that would have been paid on this building if it was taxable versus the rent savings and the income to Travis County. And we have a threshold that all of these projects must have a return of at least 60% back to the community, including the revenues received by Travis County. And all of these transactions meet the 60% threshold, and most of them are significantly over the 60% threshold. We also like the work they do because, frankly, they're pretty economical. Some of the other parties who do this type of work have recently increased their fees drastically. You don't pay those costs. We make the developers pay those costs. But we think CBRE does a good job, and that's why we're recommending them for approval.
Okay. Any discussion? I don't know much about CBRE, but is there a motion to approve resolution number TCFC?
For motion we approve, resolution 2024-09.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right,
No brainer.
that one's approved. Moving on to item F, resolution number TCFC 2024-10, and this is to approve the awarding of affordable housing rental development gap funding to select developers.
Yes, finally. So we've been talking about this for some time, about how we want to incentivize 30% units. And so as directed, we put out a solicitation to engage a partner who is interested in expanding a number of very low-income units, and NRP Group was expressed interest. As you know, it's an evergreen contract, which means we have the ability to incentivize other entities that are very interested in doing the very same thing, as you know, as long as funds allow for such. So I'll let Jim explain essentially what they're asking to do, how much they're asking for, but we are very happy to be able to endorse them for this set-aside funds that you all have so graciously put aside for that purpose.
Right. This is NRP's Belmont project, and this is a 4% tax credit transaction. This transaction will have 53 units at 30%. The transaction currently has a $4 million gap in its funding. The transaction could be done as 100% at 60%, but we have requested that they have the 30% units. They came to us and asked us to provide $3 million out of the $4 million gap. They would provide $1 million. We have gone back to them and we have told them that we are not willing to put in $3 million, that we would consider $2 million if the board was willing to do it. And they will have to find the other $2 million. Now, one of the important points in this transaction is that we would loan them $2 million. That loan is what's typically called a soft loan. It is not repaid on a demand schedule. It is repaid out of cash flow. It will likely not be repaid for a 15-year period. However, by participating in the tax credit transaction, you will receive closing fees, you will receive bond issuance fees, you will receive developer fees. Then you will receive 50% of the cash flow from the project. And you will also own a significant portion of the back end of this project. As a result of that, we believe that your revenue from this project will exceed the loan amount even before the loan starts amortizing and getting paid. So we believe that you will get back out of this project revenues in an amount which we believe will be about $1.9 million. And that's probably going to be within 3 years of stabilization. And then you will receive back your loan amount for sure by the time the project sells, and possibly over a period of time between year 15 and year 30.
He's frozen.
The resolution is conditioned on you being the general partner in the negotiation of definitive terms that are acceptable to us.
Jim, can you back up a little bit? You froze and we didn't hear you. So you were talking about within 3 years we could receive in excess of how much? 1.9 million?
1.9 million is what we expect you to get. So essentially your loan gets repaid in the form of revenue and developer fee. And your loan will still be there for $2 million. So then once we get out to year 15, the project will either be sold or it'll be re-syndicated and refinanced, and we will get our loan paid at that time. And so the money will get recycled eventually. What we're doing this for is to get the 30% units. It lets us get a 30% unit for about $37,000, which is way cheaper than we can build 30% units. Those 30% units have to stay in place for at least 30 years.
Jim, is there, if they sell this project within 15 years, before the 15-year time frame, does that affect the $2 million?
It would cause them to repay the $2 million.
Right. Okay.
Okay. That
Sounds good.
That sounds good
Yeah.
to me. So is there a motion to approve resolution TCFC 2024-10?
I motion to approve resolution TCFC 2024-10.
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Great work.
That one passes. All right, moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, finances by Subra.
So Subra is out of the country because we moved the meeting back, and didn't plan on him canceling his plans. So I'm gonna do the report, so, okay. So we're still working through how we can make this larger, but okay, I'm just gonna go to the provision for reserve, like the bottom line. If, Michaela, if you could just blow it up just a little, just to show the bold at the bottom of the page. Okay, so essentially, actually, so essentially, this is what we've been, funds we've afforded to date. I'm sorry, if you go back to the top, let me see the columns. Okay, so, and then go to the far right, sorry. So, and then you can go down. So, essentially, we're just showing an estimate of essentially what we have in terms of revenue. We budgeted or estimated 2,213,000 as far as where we are, and then it shows essentially where we are to date in terms of what we've collected fee-wise. Now, obviously, the projects just got approved, so we're looking to close those, and then you'll see some significant amount at some point later in the future. But we're still early in the process, obviously, because we're just getting projects approved, and none of them have closed yet. So that's essentially what accounts for what we've gotten to date, and essentially what you see is the 513, and what we receive is the residual from projects from the previous year. So that's it in a nutshell, but we do anticipate with loan closings that we will exceed what we've estimated in terms of the amount. If you go to the next slide. Okay. Is that the next slide? Okay. Okay, yeah, let's go to this one. So, all right, so, yeah, let's go to this one. So as far as the balance sheet goes, we talked about where the amount we have in terms of collectively $7,660,000. That's including obviously the set aside in addition to what we're using for operating. So if you have any questions.
So where are we with, I saw a glimpse of Maynardtown. Where are we with Maynardtown in that project? And
Yeah, so it wouldn't necessarily be shown here per se, although what we've estimated is,
go back to,
okay,
I
go
think it
ahead.
was scheduled to.
I think you're right. So we are still in the process of, we're still anticipating in late July, early August completion date. So we essentially, the 769 is what you show as a gap. This is what we've spent to date. And we're about 60, where are we, Carlos? About 70% complete.
We're 72 point.
Yeah, so we're estimating that, the balance of those, we're 72% complete in completion, but obviously the activities that we're talking about we believe that we'll be right at where we think we will be. We should go back. That's expenditure. We should stay at where we were with Mina. Okay, all right. So anyway, that's where we are with respect to Maynard to date.
Okay.
And of course, we're a month and a half behind because that's March and we're in May, so.
Okay.
Carlos, are we anticipating that date is pretty firm?
Yes, as of right now, without any expected delays, everything seems to be going on schedule.
Okay. All right, any other questions for virtual Subra? All right, thank you. We'll move on to item number 6 on the agenda. Are there any committee reports? I know we did have a real estate committee meeting, and we'll discuss that any later. Any other? Okay, moving on to item number 7, new and unfinished business, or anything that anyone wants to cover?
Are you going to go to executive session?
Yes, that's the next item on the agenda. This is item number 8, executive session, and I would like to move that we go into executive session to discuss several action items on the agenda, item B, C, and D,
Under,
action items. Those are the action items. I wanted to discuss.
551-071.
Yes.
Zero
Or,
seven two.
or 1072.
Under 551072.
And then there's 087.
Potential.
Yes. And 55087, those two.
Yeah, you don't, who's making the motion? I'm sorry.
For motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thank you.